Okay, welcome to another video. Now I'm going to go through this test your mini badges for faults, what I call a safety display, mini badge display here. This is the finished product. You can tell it has a single one. This one has PTC. So this is resettable fuses on the 3.3 volts and 5 volt rails here. And then it has the SyncCon 10x10 spacing of mini badges, and then the tight spacing, which is the spacing I use on my 4x4s and my 10x10. USB-C, you get a short detected good or short detected LEDs here. You got your source and sink viewpoints here of the clock circuit, the short protection circuit. The clock is protected by another resettable fuse for about 500 milliamps. The ones on front are about 440 to 50 milliamps current draw before they start going in. And then the 3.3 volt regulator also has a resettable fuse on it, on the 5 volt into it. So that's the end product, and let's get into assembly. So we get our board here, and then you'll have headers in a variety of colors or one color. Then I bagged it. And then for parts, we have our RJ45, which is the Minibadge network connector, Minibadge display network connector, MDNC. The more info on my GitHub on that. Our USB-C. These are our 5 volt resettable fuses. You can put those on the side here. This is our 3.3 volt, our mini badge resettable fuses for one mini badge. Then we got our red and green LEDs that are color coded. Our 10 microfarad, a few transistors, and then there'll be some more transistors that are color coded. The white ones. And then our Schmidt Diode. And some more parts. I might be missing one of my MOSFETs. If I am, I'll have to go grab one. The kit is missing a part. Do reach out, and I will have parts available. Thought of it as the transistors instead. Like always, I always do my tip. Make sure it's shiny. Get my fume extractor going. Okay. And go through and tag one of these pads. It doesn't really matter what jumper it's on. I'll do it to 3.3 volt. You can play around with 3.3 volts or 5 volts. Powering your clock there. For the most part, I haven't found it to make any difference. is powering that clock, the Schmidt IC. Okay, back's pretty simple. We'll usually do the RJ45 towards the end after when you install the headers. So let's look at this. Okay. These are my 5.1K. Resistors. Start with those. They are the smallest parts of this board. Okay. This one has the 10 microfarad capacitor separated. Let's do that next. Should be marked with a 10. Usually both together, if separated, they'll each have a 10 on it. If you look at them, they won't be flat, so don't get confused with resistors. They should be more rectangle in shape. That is your C3. And your C1. And then you want to do the clear package. That is your C2. That's the end of our capacitors. Right now I'm just kind of tagging all these together right now. And then go through and make sure you do the other side. Don't take a lot of solder, and make sure you do those resistors we did earlier as well. You don't want that to run into any issues. And then do the larger fuses, the green. They're kind of large. They kind of have a B, N, and M on them. That's your F3 and F4. Position them in. you like here. Lock them in place. Okay. Next, let's do our U7, which is our Schmidt diode here. This is a very small part, really easy to accidentally jump. To bridge some of those parts. Something to be aware of there. So we can zoom in on that one a little bit more. Do bridge them. Yeah, solder sucker. Suck it all up. Okay. Then R3 here is our 200K. I think I'm pretty much standardizing on 200K. Gives a pretty good, almost second pulse for the clock. You can increase this to a bigger size for slower clocks, or you can go to about 100K for a little bit faster clock. I provide you with a 200K. If you're doing this for a little bit, that's a clock speed that I really enjoyed. Okay, now Q2 and Q3. Are two MOSFETs. So the one with the black should be your Q3. Kind of hard to see the details on it. So that's your N-type MOSFET. There. And then our Q2 will be the one with the white end on it. Okay, that finishes the clock circuit there. So R1 and R2 are the 150 ohm resistors. They go for the lights in the front. Kind of give you an idea of the clock working and its speed. Now we'll finish up all the parts up here. Okay. Now we're going to get into, let's finish up our voltage there. This is our RDO voltage regulator. U1. Get that position. Do the middle pad. So get that started. You want to make sure that you get plenty of solder on this part. That's the part that heats up. Middle there. Okay. Front stuff on the side here. Now I like to do the smaller one, Q4 first. This is a PNP transistor. Doesn't have the most amperage that I can go through. It provides enough to work in this board. This board was a test of these for me before I decided to incorporate some parts of this onto the 4x4, and eventually I'll do it on the 10x10 as well. They'll have protection circuits. Then I like to do Q1, which is the one that looks kind of like the MOSFETs. It will have a little bit different wording on it, really hard to see. What is written? On these parts at times. Okay, now you should have a 1K, a 220, and a 100 ohm. R9 is the 100, should be 101 on it. So R9 is 100 ohm. Let's put all these on. Then R4 is the 1000, would be 102. Okay. And then the 10,000, which is 103 on it, is R8. Then R5 and R10 are 220 ohm resistors. Once you get those, you just want to tag them. Make sure that we're connected. That finishes up our back. Now you can flip your board over. Let's prep the front. The front doesn't have a lot of parts. Make sure that there's some solder everywhere. So let's start with the easy side and do the F1, F2. That's your small green package. I'm still looking at building a custom header helper for this. I have not made it yet. These don't really have orientation. Come on. That's your F1. F2. Let's lock them in. Okay. Then we'll go over and we'll do the LEDs. Do the red first. Which I like to do as the odds. So D1 and D3. So the sync of the clock. The red LEDs are the harder of the two. They don't really have a marking on the back of them. They only have the green lines on the front. And the green goes into the box. So the green should be on this side. And you can do this on D2 or D1. But I do like having the red LED on the short detected. Can give you that warning that there's an issue on the board. And you can switch out these red and green ones at the top with the clock for other colors if you'd like. Feel free to. And then the green one, the markings on the back and the front. So actually these green ones are the same as those red. You only have the indicator on the top. So do be aware of that, and that is D4 and D2. or the green one. Okay. And this, finish soldering those on. Make sure you clean your tip every so often so the solder flows better. Okay, and then you do the USB-C. This is probably the hardest. This is the hardest part outside of the Schmidt on this for assembly. To be aware of. Position. This fits right in. And for this one, I do like to do more of the drag soldering aspect. So I like to get a little bit more solder right there on the pads. And push it down, get the tip, and just go through these pads and make sure that there's some connection going on in each of these. Then I like to draw the solder towards the back of the bigger pads there, and use my solder sector to get it out. Okay, if you did it right, there should be no shorts. Not sure, there you go. Then I just tag those sides in. Make sure that this has a good solid connection for you. These kits will be available if you ask me on Discord. I do sell these. I need to eventually make up a store, but for now, I just sell them direct for word of mouth. Okay, let's zoom out now. This is the time. Grab your USB-C cable, plug it in. You should see that it's blinking, the good's on. That's all good signs. Now you can take your tweezers and the short two. The short should go. So short doesn't really work on this upper one because the PTC fuses do protect in that regard. Okay, looks like the short's working, everything else is working. It's good. Now you can unplug it. And then when you want to do the headers, this one I haven't made the header helper yet, so you'll have to use mini badges, ideally flat ones to go into. So ideally you'll have a few of these around. so we can make sure this works. You can use the flat straight row ones as well of the header helpers that I have. That'll work. So you can do 3 of those or use mini badges. Either way will work. There's a height difference though. If you're using the header helpers, don't do mini badges and header helpers at the same time, as that will cause some issues. And to give you a free, if you're watching this far, I'll give you a sneak peek of the butterfly mini badge for this year. It has a nice theme to it, really awesome. So the middle row is going to not work with this, so I'll just let it fall out. As we don't have mini badges. Mini badge 1 should work. Just kind of hold the mini badges in place. Flip over. And gently go. While holding this in place, get your soldering iron and tag this one, tag each row on just quickly. Doesn't have to be pretty. This is where if you have the header helpers, it is a little bit nicer as you can do them all together. And I will look at making a custom display board for this still. So once you've tagged them all, they'll stay good. You can pull out the mini badges. Go to the next one. And we'll do the full show of the butterfly mini badge of what LED is going to be on there. Let's give you a nice little view. Now, for the header helper one, you can just put these in like so. Put the header helper on. Okay. And then just tag this. Take this on. Make sure you get at least one peg soldered on each of these rows. Then you can just finish soldering that on, and then so now you don't need the header helpers, they'll stay in place. And for the last thing, you'll want to do RJ45 connector. that this goes on here at the top. Line that in, lock it in place. Solder on. This one can be a little view bridge. Here are the pins. Let's use your solder sucker and debridge them. And just touch up it where needed. Okay. And then the other side, just put a lot of solder in. Just want to fill this to give it good contact. And just solder on the headers. If there's too much solder on some of the headers, just remove it. Let's get this one done so we can show you the single. Then let's do just one of these. Remember, you don't need much solder on these. You just want to make them into little Hershey's Kisses, little mountains, are ideal. Every so often you do end up with too much solder. On one. Just clean it up. Do it together. I won't do the rest. I'll finish this up later, but that's the end of putting this together. And now you can take a high power Minibadge like this one. Put it up in a single slot here. Plug this in. So you can tell it goes very bright. It's not too bad here. But if we move it down to the one I soldered in, fully down here, it's a lot brighter. It goes. In up here, it's much dimmer. That those do the fuses doing their job, kind of showing that that one has a little bit of a high power draw on it. And there you go. That is how to assemble the safety display or mini Minibadge display tester project. Thanks for watching. To see you another time, please subscribe.